Princess Alara lived high above the kingdom in a tall, ivy-covered tower, a place as beautiful as it was lonely. Her stained-glass window let in sunlight but kept out the world. Though she wore a crown and lived among silk and gold, her days were silent, her heart heavy. From the time she was just a baby, the tower had been her home, her prison. Her parents, the king and queen, had once lost a child to sickness, a tragedy that shattered their hearts. So when Alara was born, they made a promise: nothing would ever harm her. In their fear, they chose safety over freedom. They built her a cage wrapped in comfort, believing they were showing love. Servants brought her food. Tutors came and went. But no friends, no laughter, no fresh wind on her face. Alara watched the seasons change through colored glass, her only companions the birds that perched on her window ledge. She dreamed of running barefoot in fields, of hearing real music, of feeling rain on her skin. But those were just dreams. The tower was her world, quiet, controlled, and cold. She had never known adventure or mischief, never spoken to someone who wasn't paid to be kind. Her heart ached for something she couldn't name. She didn't know it yet, but far below, in the very same kingdom, someone was about to change everything. And all it would take was a smile. In the heart of the village, life moved with simple rhythm, laughter, chatter, the clatter of carts and hooves. Among the crowd was 12-year-old Finn, darting between stalls with a basket of red apples. His wooden shoes, patched and cracked, were far too small, forcing him to run barefoot more often than not. But Finn never complained. He had no castle, no crown, just a hard-working mother, a little brother to care for, and a spirit that refused to dim. Every day, he sold apples with a grin, calling out to passers-by with a spark in his eyes. One sunny afternoon, as he waited for a customer, something caught his eye. High above, far beyond the rooftops and chimney smoke, he saw a window glowing with stained glass. And behind it, a girl. Still as a statue. Pale, quiet, watching the world as though it belonged to someone else. Her eyes met his for just a moment. Not haughty, not cold, just sad. Without thinking, Finn raised his hand and waved. A simple gesture. He didn't expect anything in return. But then, something incredible happened. The girl smiled. Not a polite royal smile, not something practiced, but real. Soft. Curious. Finn's heart jumped. He didn't know who she was. But in that second, something passed between them, two lives, wildly different, reaching across a distance neither of them could name. He didn't even know her name yet. But she had smiled. And that was enough to make him come back the next day. Alara had never looked forward to mornings, until Finn. Now, with the first blush of dawn, she would sit by her stained-glass window, eyes scanning the village square far below. And like clockwork, there he was. Finn, with his crooked grin and wild hair, waving up at her like she was someone worth waving to. Then came the notes, folded scraps of paper tied to small stones. Finn would toss them as far as he could toward the base of her tower, and Alara would wait until the guards weren't watching to retrieve them. They were messy, sometimes smudged, but full of magic. "What does the river sound like?" she asked once. Finn's reply came the next day, like laughter that doesn't end. Another note asked what rain felt like. "Like the sky is kissing you," he wrote. Each letter held a piece of the world Alara had never touched. He described birds nesting in chimney corners, the taste of wild berries, the way mud squished between your toes after a storm. She, in turn, sent him her own thoughts, poems, dreams, and questions too big for books. They began to laugh, even from afar. She'd stifle her giggles when a guard passed, clutching his letter to her chest. She dreamed at night of sunlit fields and late-night talks by the riverbank. In those secret moments, something in her heart began to shift. The silence of the tower didn't feel so heavy anymore. Because every whisper of wind might carry a new message. And every stone he tossed reminded her, someone in the world saw her, not as a princess, but as a person. The sky cracked open with thunder, and rain poured down in torrents. Inside the tower, Elara sat by the window, clutching one of Finn's letters, when lightning struck the stone just above her room. The walls trembled. Smoke curled through the ceiling beams, and within moments, flames began licking at the edges of the roof. She ran to the door, locked, as always. She screamed for help, her voice swallowed by the storm. No one came. The guards had long retreated to safety, forgetting the girl in the sky. Her heart pounded. Was this how her story would end? Alone, unseen? Then, through the smoke and the crackle of fire, a shadow appeared. Finn. Soaked to the bone, hands scraped and bleeding, he had climbed the ivy-covered stone walls in the middle of a storm. He gasped for breath as he reached her window. "Elara," he shouted. "Come with me." She froze. Her whole life had been behind those walls. The fear, the safety, the silence. But then she looked at him, not just the boy who tossed her letters, but the boy who had climbed a burning tower for her. In his eyes, she saw no fear, only love. Only truth. With trembling hands, she reached out. And as their fingers touched, the world shifted. She stepped onto the windowsill. Onto the vines. Onto the unknown. Together, through fire and rain, they climbed down, two silhouettes against the storm. And when her feet finally touched the ground, Elara didn't look back. She had made her choice. Weeks had passed since that stormy night, and the kingdom had changed. The tower, once tall and unshakable, now stood in ruins. Ivy curling over broken stone, as if nature itself was reclaiming what never should have stood so high. In the heart of the village, where the laughter of children filled the air, Elara stood beside Finn. Her hair danced in the breeze, her cheeks rosy from sun and freedom. She wore no crown, no velvet gown, just a simple dress and a smile so bright it lit up the square. The villagers, once distant, now greeted her like one of their own. They brought her wildflowers, stories, and food she'd only read about in books. Children tugged at her hand, asking her to play. And Elara, the girl who had once known only silence, laughed until tears sparkled in her eyes. The king and queen watched from the edge of the crowd, uncertain at first, until they saw their daughter truly alive for the first time. Not protected, not guarded, but free. And in her joy, they saw the truth: love is not locking someone away from the world. Love is letting them belong to it. With heavy hearts and open hands, they gave her what they had once feared most: freedom. The tower, once a symbol of fear and loss, was dismantled stone by stone. And as the last bricks fell, Elara stood by Finn, fingers entwined with his, her eyes shining with hope. The lonely princess had stepped into the world. And the world had embraced her. The story of the lonely princess is not just a tale of royalty and rescue, it's a timeless reminder of what it means to truly live. Princess Elara was born into a world of fear, wrapped in love that mistook safety for protection. But it was a boy with no crown, no riches, just a heart full of courage, who showed her the life waiting beyond her window. Through small acts of kindness, shared dreams, and one brave decision, Elara broke free from the walls that bound her, not just the stone tower, but the fear and loneliness within. Finn's compassion didn't just save her life, it gave her the freedom to feel joy, to belong, and to be herself. In the end, the tower fell, but something greater rose in its place: understanding, connection, and a kingdom changed by the power of love and choice. Because sometimes, the greatest fairy tales aren't about princes or battles, but about a single smile, a helping hand, and the courage to step into the unknown. Elara was never truly trapped. She was waiting to be seen. And when she was, she blossomed. The lonely princess was lonely no more. And her story became a light for all who feel forgotten behind their own walls.